Good evening, everyone. Uh, Thanks, everyone, for coming here tonight. So we are trying something new today as well. So we're going to do this session in a fireside chat format because I think it's better if we can ask more questions from Josh instead of he come and just present whatever he wants, since this is not the demo day. So I would like to introduce. I think Josh is known to most of you people, but Josh, I'll introduce him as the ambassador of Launchpad, and then co-founder of MaestroAI. So he's Manx. So he's in the island only for 4 days. So I managed to get this session done as well. So thank you, Josh.
Yeah, no worries.
So I'll start with I have a huge list of questions that I think I must ask, but the audience can ask questions as well. So what is MaestroAI and what is this sky scanner thing that you actually I have seen that you have used it a lot of places, so would like to get some introduction as well as what's the story behind this.
Thanks, Chamara, and thank you everybody for coming here today to listen to me or be part of the discussion for an hour. I know you guys are probably very busy and lots of things to do, so thank you for coming. I guess first of all, digital assets, right? What does that mean? For many of you here living on the Isle of Man, with a big sort of e-gaming space, I guess you could say. You're probably familiar with what digital assets are and the blockchain and crypto and everything like that. But the part of digital assets that we actually operate in is called tradable in-game assets. So you can think of this as like your clothes or accessories, but behind a screen and in a game. And it's you can think of it like an extension of yourself, really. This specific industry every year is worth about 53 billion. And within the game that we serve, which is called Counter-Strike, many of you might have played it before when you and all the different versions of it. Can't believe it's still going, to be honest. We operate in an $8 billion market cap within Counter-Strike. So we start with one and build into more. Now, what does it mean that we're the sky scanner of this? Basically, over every single year, over $180 billion worth of trades are processed on all these different exchanges for these tradable in-game assets, specifically in Counter-Strike, the game. And again, think about it as clothes, as your accessories, as your buy and sell shoes and stuff like that onto eBay and Amazon and all that type of stuff. So we aggregate all that data across the sort of very, very scattered marketplace and pricing structures across the industry. And we allow people to be able to find, or players to be able to find, where is the best deal, what are the prices saying, where's the cheapest or best place they can buy it. So hopefully that makes a bit of sense to you guys.
Right. Thank you, Josh. So I'm going to put out, one of the questions that investors will ask. So why you to do that? And why now?
Yeah, I guess so. In terms of why now, the gaming industry is blowing up at the moment. It's a lot of the traffic and the sort of general normal online gambling industry is sort of declining. It's getting lots of sort of not as many people at the moment are using that industry. Yes, of course it will still grow and it's a big market, but in terms of culturally, there's a big shift, and it's more coming into your gaming side, right? Your actual pure gaming. There's the enjoyment side, there's a community aspect to it, but also, within the tradable in-game assets industry, there is also a part which you can gamble and you can play sort of these, I guess, casino-type games, but in a more early market, very grey area type of industry. So there's a lot happening right now in the very, very whiter than white space, as in, purely just playing the games, more people are playing, but then also in the potential, gambling side of it as well. So you're getting a lot of trade-off from different industries. Now also, with the rise of digital assets, as a whole, it's a huge industry. It's over $3 trillion a year. there's people trying to find more ways to be able to make money and to be able to get the money from enjoying the things that they enjoy. And that comes into the tradable in-game asset space. So that's sort of why now. A lot's happening, lots of acquisitions are happening, and it's an exciting time. Why us? Well, we are, like many people, we love games. We love playing games, but the problem within our specific sort of beachhead industry is that, or beachhead market within Counter-Strike, is that it's dominated by like gambling sponsors, and a lot of money comes through there. And we started with a very community-first approach, where we look after the community, reward the community, and it's almost like we build and foster a home for these gamers who don't want to look at these gambling sites anymore, and look at us and go, oh my gosh, this is refreshing. I like this. This is a new home for me. But then also, whilst they're in this community playing more Counter-Strike for free, they go, oh my gosh, actually, there's a product attached to this as well. And I want to use this product to find the skins, or we call them skins, that all their other friends are playing with, or using, or their favorite players in esports are using. And that's sort of why now, and the growth aspect of that.
All right. Cool. So, what made you to decide that you need to go through an accelerator rather than bootstrapping or raising funds independently?
So I think where we were when we just launched the product or decided that we needed to get some fundraising, it was very hard to get somebody to understand the value we were providing, because a lot of people, are not gamers, and to try and find gaming investors specifically, you had to do some crazy outreach, and that would mean not enough time spending building. Whereas if you look at an accelerator, I'd never raised funds before. That was the first time we sort of fundraising. You get a lot of no's as well along the way. They must have been like our 8th or 9th shot when we got into the accelerator. And it was just like an idea, to be honest, that amongst co-founders, we sort of said, like, if we are going to do this, we've never done it before, and there's an opportunity to have significant amount of support along the way and really catapult you to where we need to go to. And with an accelerator, you're not just getting the cash. The cash is not a lot, right? When we raised, it was like 30 grand. But the network that they have, they're all exited founders. They know the game. They've done it before. They've gone through the pain points. They've done all the days where you've got no cash, you've got to bootstrap and then find investment. And it just made sense, right? To speak with other exited founders, be around more people that had done it before and could help us accelerate that journey and make it faster, and be in with the right people, be surrounded by more founders. What is not good about that? You talk about this place on the Alaman trying to build, an ecosystem for startups. It is just that. It's being surrounded by other builders. It's really, really valuable. You can bounce off ideas, even though they're completely in their own individual industries. And on our accelerator, no one else did gaming. There's still so many things that you can take from the individual founders that have got to that point, who have raised funds before, who haven't raised funds before, some of them 30, 40 years old, some of them, 22, 21 for my case, right? So, it was a no-brainer.
Oh. Yeah. I think, after listening to these answers, I would like to see actually your demo day video, if possible.
Oh, did I send it to you? Have you got it?
No.
Oh, right, okay. No, that's right.
Yeah. So, right. So tell us, how was your first day at Baltic Ventures looks like? And, what was your, expectations and what you have actually experienced?
So it's like your first day at school, really. It's like a load of, I think going into it, I didn't know what to expect. You see all the videos about like Y Combinator and the famous accelerators, but you don't really know what to expect properly, right? You don't know what the endorphins are going to feel like. You're going to be nervous or you're not, but it is exactly like first day of school. You get there and you're like, first day of work or whatever. And it is like you meet loads of people, they're all normal, they're all human, like all of us here are human as well. They're no different to you. They want to get to a certain place and they know where they're going to get to, and they all have a goal. And it's weird because, sort of digressing a little bit, but looking back a little bit, you go into that accelerator not knowing any of these guys, right? Like you go into a school not knowing anybody, and then you make friends, and you are like born into this life with just one family. But because you're always surrounded in that specific, at Baltic Ventures in this accelerator, you guys are all at different phases, right? Some have done fundraising before, some haven't, some are still trying to work out what it is that they're trying to build, and that's okay. But you all are there together. You're all there to help each other, even though, like I said, you've got completely different businesses. You all want to see each other succeed because you're all in the same cohort, and it was just instantly being in the room with the founders and people that wanted to build cool stuff. It made me so happy. On the Isle of Man, it's hard to find that. Honestly, just really, really happy. Didn't know what to expect. It was an introduction to the Baltic Ventures Angel Syndicate, so the people that had invested into the Baltic Ventures Fund. So we got to meet them because the likelihood is that those people also do follow-on funding after you finish the accelerator, provided they're happy with how you've been, what the coaches have said, and it was good to see all them, but also all the coaches for that year, and that coaches side of it is a really important part of the accelerator.
Okay. Small side question. Have you ever applied to YC?
No, I thought of doing it once.
Okay.
I didn't do it.
Right. Okay. YC is the Y Combinator. Right. So 6 months is actually a significant commitment. Right. So how was that 6 months looks like for you?
So out of that 6 months, it's more like 4 months. So you've got a month at the beginning where they're still doing all their due diligence checks and everything like that. The funds are released to you so you can start building. But then also you've got the kickoff, and then it's really, really hard for 3 months. That 3 months is your contact time with them every single week. You're doing loads of coaching sessions, day-long coaching sessions. You've got sort of one-on-one coaching sessions as well, where so how it was designed was there are 3 co-founders of Baltic Ventures. One, the CEO, she's a little bit more on the commercial side of the VC accelerator, if you will, trying to fundraise for the fund. But then you got 2 co-founders who exited a company in 2021, and they do the one-on-ones. They went underneath the skin straight away, and it's more like founder therapy, and they really understand what's going on, what's not working, and those sessions were the best ones because those are the ones where you can be completely honest and go, you know what, I have no idea what I'm doing, and that's okay to say because they can help you. They're there for that, and the more honest you can be from the beginning and more transparent, the more that they can help you. Even when you fundraise, sometimes you don't know what you're doing. That's okay as long as you're somebody who is willing to find what the answer is or try and pivot or iterate to get to where you need to go to. People will back you, and that's what they're trying to look for.
So, what's the most valuable part of this 6 months or the 4 months journey? Whether it's the mentorship or the network or the structure or something else?
It's definitely the coaching mentorship, like I said before, but also the network that they bring you into. So traditionally, you'd never be in a room as a founder or be in a situation where you can be. There's more investors than there are founders in the room. Whereas with an accelerator, their job is for you to get follow-on funding because it means that their shareholding and the valuation that they have is bigger. And there'd been multiple times that we were in a room with over 40, 50, 60 investors, demo day one of them, and there'd only be 10 startups. Those odds don't happen very often, and it dramatically increases the likelihood of you being able to have follow-on funding, have warm connections in a world now where we live in just data and marketing and ads everywhere. As humans, we want to see as little as possible of those things at the moment because time is very valuable. But with these warm connections, you don't have to do your cold outreach to VCs. You don't have to do cold outreach to angel investors. It's very much they bring you into an ecosystem of a load of funds that want to write you checks, and is just basically don't do something for them to say no, as opposed to try and get them to invest.
So Baltic Ventures is for equity, or it's equity free?
Yeah, it's got equity, so they take. So how it worked with Baltic Ventures was, for many of you who are not familiar with fundraising, in the UK at the moment, the fastest way to get like angel investment or funds through the door is by something called an ASA, which is an advanced subscription agreement. It basically allows you to set up a deal with an investor without having to have a committed valuation at that given time. Basically, it's usually between 6 and 9 months. So advanced subscription, they give you cash now and it's equity later. Same as safe notes as well. Those are very familiar in the States. You've got 6 to 9 months to be able to find somebody to invest in your company and have a lead valuation target. And that ASA will then convert at a 20% discount. Usually it's about it's like 10 to 20% discount, depending on how much risk the angel investor takes on. You then have somebody priced around. For our case, Baltic Ventures, they have a clause where if you raise a certain amount of funds before the 9 months is up, or 6 months is up, then they would take a 20% discount on the valuation, as opposed to going to a backstop valuation, which is the least amount of money that you can be worth. So, it makes it safer, better for everybody involved.
All right. So I think you mentioned about, how valuable it is, but I would like to ask, what was the hardest part as well?
If I'm honest, I think the hardest part is just being able to say at a given time on the accelerator, because you get in off the basic traction, right? Your traction, your team, and when you get in, you do have your founders drink their own Gatorade, right? I have the best product in the world, but the reality is that you do have to bite that a little bit at some point and say, you know what? Sometimes you could, you get to a point where you go, oh my God, is anybody actually using this? But to find that and to reach that level and go rock bottom and go, if I don't sort this out in the next month, we're not gonna die because we're gonna run out of cash. We're gonna die because it's just not gonna work. And that we did have that moment actually. I can say we did have that moment, and I did remember saying to the whole team, if we don't fix this in a month, we're not gonna run out of cash. It's just going to be a bad product, because there wasn't enough of the growth engine. So we really I remember we did over 42 different experiments in 1 month to see what would work, what doesn't work, ask the community, go back down to ground level zero, and really just feel like we had no idea about anything. Thankfully through that process, through a lot of hardship, we did find that, and now we're growing over 1,000 members a week.
That's actually great to hear, right? So after completing the accelerator program, so I've heard that now you are raising your funding round. Which stage are you in now?
Yeah, so we opened our 300k funding round on the 16th of January officially, and within 2 weeks we raised 100k, and now we're just in talks with a lead investor to be able to push it over the line. It's also all about timing as well, right? So you've got Q1 soon. Everybody wants to get rid of their money by the end of Q1 for the tax year end as well. So it's all about optics. It's all about how do you position it to look like you're stronger than you are, or know the VC landscape. A lot of funds try and deploy at certain times of year, being the end of Q1 is one of them as well. So it's all knowing the game, knowing what you're doing, and prepping it for a long time. So you can say yes, fundraise 100k in 2 weeks, but realistically, we've known for a long time that we have multiple different people in play who we're warm connections with through the accelerator, outside of the accelerator, and bringing them up to speed of this is what's happening, and then now we're gonna open the round, but we know that you're in basically. So yeah.
So, if you can explain how actually Accelerator help you to refine the approach of doing the fundraising round, I think that will be really helpful for others like who might be thinking in future like whether they need to raise funds.
Yeah, so I mean, the accelerator does a few things. So you've got a coaching pool that you can ask anyone, and the coaching pool they pay people to come in. Highly paid coaches. They all have to have worked with exited founders before, or they have to be an exited founder themselves, who just love working with startups. And so they know what investors are looking for, and they help you frame everything from what you're saying to how you need to position it to everything. So for us, for example, in the gaming space, not many people, if I didn't explain to you what tradable in-game assets were, I don't think many of you would have thought clothes and accessories on the screen. So you do have to bring the investors up to speed. You have to bring the VCs into understanding like, oh, okay, oh my God, like I didn't know gaming was that big. Oh my God, I didn't know tradable in-game assets were that big. You got to really make sure your framing is correct. They say that like Baltic Ventures and a lot of other accelerators say like keep it simple, stupid, right? Don't try and be smart about your wording. Don't try and be clever about it in any way. No puns. Super, super, super simple. And literally just like act like you're speaking to a 4-year-old, but don't ruin their ego.
All right, cool. So now let's talk about the demo day. 400 plus investors in a room. So how did you prepare? And what were you thinking? Like, what's your back mind is telling you about?
The mind was telling me that 400 people is a lot, right? I mean, I've sat in here before or stood in here before and done a few like talks, I guess, maybe last year, I don't know, something like that. And it's like a room of 20 or 30 people, and that's in the beginning it's a little bit, oh my God, there's a lot of faces looking at me. But then you get the jump up to 400. You do think like, oh my God, that's a lot. But I think the switch is that all those 400 people are not looking at you going, I want to bring that person down. Oh my God, if that person messes up, that's so funny. It's not that. They want you to do well. So it's a matter of embracing that and just being like, thanks for being here. I'm going to use your energy and use your support that I have on stage and use the time that I have to speak to you guys to really, hammer home what it is I'm trying to say and what I believe in and why I believe in it so much. And you do get nervous, even though you say to yourself, I'm fine. You stand behind the stage, you're there trying to do every trick in the book to try and if you can sort of rub yourself a little bit here and there and make your senses think that you're going to be okay. But then you go on a stage and everything just, you can't think, to be honest. You just go out there and you're like, okay, I've got no other chance, I've got no other opportunity to do anything else but just speak now. So they all just sort of fly out the window after you see everybody.
Okay. How long is the pitch at the demo day? 3 minutes, right? And you had any Q&A after that as well?
Q&A was like after the actual demo pitch. So we had like banners at the side of this massive event hall, and you'd go and stand next to it if you wanted to speak to people, and then investors would come to you, or other people who were at the event would come to you and speak to you and ask you about the event as well, or just be interested in what you're doing.
Yeah. Okay. So I think you have to be prepared specifically for the demo day, right? So, and I think that's what Accelerator does as well. They will actually train you to do that.
You do the coaching only gets you so far though. Like, I did think I was going a bit mad at one point. So how it works for myself, some computer science background. So in the day, I'm trying to fundraise, trying to understand the commercial side of it, try and speak with other marketplaces and businesses. And then the evenings, it's all coding. And there was a point where I think it got to like maybe 11:30 in the evening, and I was sat there programming, trying to fix this bug. It was a merge conflict. For those technical people in the room, not nice things. Yeah, there you go, Brian, Craig. It it was a merge conflict. But whilst I was looking at this merge conflict and figuring out what was going on, why did I not, which was the merge I was trying to commit, I was actually repeating my pitch out loud, and I was like, oh my god, I need to go to sleep. Like this is getting a bit weird now. But it just has to become second nature. Like you have to you memorize it so much that you're just walking around. I remember walking in the middle of the street in Liverpool and I was shouting it because I needed to have as much time as possible to learn the pitch, to do it. But then also you still have to work at the same time, right? So you can't just spend a whole day just reciting it. But when you're in between doing nothing, that's where it embeds really much. It's not English, but it embeds into your head a lot more.
Okay. So, so this is the demo day pitch. Can you explain the audience like how actually that is different from a formal investor pitch?
So, like a demo day pitch is a more watered down conversational pitch to let people know this is what you've been doing, this is what you've been building, this is why you're the right team, but not to go so granular into everything where they're going to start questioning you whilst you're speaking. So there's a fine line between just giving them enough so that they can think, oh, I'll save that for later, and then still listen to you, and whilst you're trying to engage with them, it has to be a conversation. I have to be able to look at you and go like, this is what we're building, this is what we're doing, like if you were sat over coffee, and then they come and see you and speak to you after. Whereas your formal pitch to an investor, if you're in the pipeline for a deal or whatever it is, you need to send as much information as possible for them to make a decision. Because usually in the VC sort of pipeline, there's like your initial discovery call. You send your pitch deck in, initial discovery call. After your initial discovery call, they sound check you. They feel like you're a good person and a good founder. They then start to ask for your data room. They look at all your data. They then quiz you on all of it, see how much you know. If they think that they know more than you, you're screwed. You have to know everything inside out. So as soon as they have a sniff for a second that they think that they know your business more than you, they're not going to invest. And then after that, they go for the if you succeed at that, you then go into you meet the LPs, the limited partners, who provide the fund with money, because it's their money at the end of the day who they're putting into the fund to be able to invest into you through a family office or anything like that. And then once you pass that stage, you're in the pipeline then for all the due diligence checks to happen, and then you get funding.
Okay. So you said that it's a 3-minute pitch, right? So what did you prioritize, and what the thought process behind, like, this is what I'm going to present in these 3 minutes?
Yeah, so like in the 3 minutes when we were thinking about what we were going to say to people, we knew for a fact that out of that 400 investors in the room, none of them were gaming, right? So we had to bring people up to speed with our industry, like saying that it's closed but in a game, and let them understand and let them go through their own thought process of like, oh my, like VCs, they get like FOMO from each other. So if one VC is investing into, I don't know, let's say Supercell, one of the bigger, like Clash of Clans, maybe some of you guys have played Clash of Clans before, and one VC has put like 200k in, and then another VC would go, oh, they've put 200k in, what are they doing well? Why are they going to perform better than us or not? So it's a case of like making people understand about your industry first, so that they can then speak with you. But then also there's loads of back channeling that goes on. All the VCs speak to each other about you. Even if you're just in the door, they will chat about you. They go to these VC events for founders, by the way, but they'll catch up with each other and speak about the deals that they have on. And then they go, oh, could we co-invest? And then when you co-invest, people are happier because they're sharing the risk and everything like this. So, it was just making sure people understood, what do we do? This is what we've done in our industry. This is why it's so important. This is what we've done so far in terms of commitments. This is the revenue model, and this is where we're going. And that vision element is the biggest thing, right? Because that's where you think you want to go. And if you've got a good plan, and you've got a founder or a founding team that thinks that they can iterate, whichever way possible to get to that vision, people will buy in. But if you don't have that vision, you can't see where that's going, it's hard to understand, like, okay, where do you want to go? But in plain English.
All right. Okay. So, if you could do the demo day again, what would you do? Would you do anything different? Would you take a different approach?
Probably ask Baltic Ventures to make sure my slides works, to be honest. The slides, like, halfway through the event just stopped. But I think that actually did work in my favor, because everybody just saw, like, oh my God, like, his slides are broken, but he's absolutely nailing the pitch. So honestly, like, not to be vain in any way, I wouldn't do anything differently. It went really, really well.
So, how does the follow-up process works with the investors, after you step down from the stage?
So, to be honest, the follow-up process all revolves around alcohol. So basically, after this demo day, right, there's an open bar that Baltic Ventures put on. It's like 10, 15 grand bar tab, and everybody just, like, the investors, they don't want to speak about, like, investing yet. They just want to know about, like, who are you, what you're doing, and they don't really care yet. They want to speak to their other VC friends first. What do they think about the pitch? What's this? What's that? And then as the night goes on a little bit, and they got a little bit of alcohol in them, that's when the conversations about writing checks happen. You don't want to sell to them there. You want to just build a relationship so that when they're sober, they remember you for something, whether that's a weird top that says "pull my finger" of a Darth Vader t-shirt, or you say something like "I have 3 cats." You got to be memorable, but so they got to remember your pitch. You got to be memorable somehow, and then get the Baltic Ventures team, or in our case, to follow up with all the different investors, or they will then reach out to Baltic Ventures, and then they'll get you in the loop. But then after that, for us specifically, a week after demo day, the best investors from that, like, sort of 400 investors, and the best investors in London were invited to a Baltic Ventures dinner. So again, more alcohol and free food, to get them sort of happier and bring them into a room where they can be a little bit more intimate with the founders, speak over a nice dinner, speak over things that they enjoy. And that specific dinner is where a lot of the deal making happens. So off the back of that, we're speaking with 4 like VCs and like in their formal pipeline process because of that.
Right. So you did your friends and family round before, right? So how do you differentiate this one and the previous friends and family round?
So I guess, like, your friends and family round, it's like a mini pre-seed round, I guess you could say. And this is purely based off, like, an investor just going, I'm going to take a punt on you, and if you succeed, great. But in their head, they've already written it off. They know that they're not going to get it back. That's their idea. If by a small chance you are able to make something of the 50 grand, whether that's traction or revenue, then it gets a little bit more serious. Then so your proper pre-seed round, because maybe you can sell a dream at your friends and family round, because people like you or whatever. But your pre-seed round, you're not going to blag a lead VC really, right? So you got to have some good traction. Show that you've survived and done even better, and show some sort of like clear route to commerciality, and that how you're going to use your funds. But specifically nowadays, like before COVID, pre-COVID times, you could raise 8 million off an idea, back of nothing. Whereas now it's very much like you have to have really good traction, or you got to know your industry so well that your clear revenue like stream or whatever that looks like commercially is sound, or be backed by an investor who understands the gaming industry well anyway as well.
So here's my thought. So don't you think that with this going through the accelerator and then in 2 weeks 100K raised, so that will actually make your friends and family investors safe? I mean,
Yeah,
It's an assurance for them, right?
Yeah, of course.
So, how this accelerator helps you, getting these commitments from the investors when you compare it with, the previous friends and family round?
So it's just like, it's, to speak in metaphors, it's like if you have an exam paper which has been, stamp of approval from University College Isle of Man and an exam paper stamp of approval from University of Cambridge, you're going to know that the University of Cambridge paper is probably definitely a harder or better paper, right? More reputable. So as soon as you get checks from VCs or you get checks from people who know the industry inside out, and you're raising a substantial amount of money, 100K is probably your benchmark to go above that, and you'll start doing well, because nobody just throws 100K just for whatever, right? It's calculated. They've done the due diligence. They've done the research. They understand what you're doing and why it's valuable. But the key really is like, if you've got a round together and you've still got no gaming investor, for us, gaming investor, the other investors are going to question like, really? Like, what are you doing? You could get a fund, or you could get like a 200K fund put in, but if you've got nobody in your round who understands gaming, are you really going to succeed? Do you have the right people on board? So for us, one of the good things about our round is that we have an angel investor who, all of our angel investors have some sort of strategy. Long gone are the days where it's just, here you go, have some cash and do whatever. It needs to be strategic. I'm a 21-year-old. I've still got a lot of life to live and learn. So to be able to lean on all those different experienced exited founders who are all of our angel investors is really, really important. And that's the biggest difference really that makes our company very, very sound from an investor and sort of defensible wedge standpoint on our fundraising round. But we got the one of the new investors is an exited founder who sold their company to Sony. So from a gaming standpoint, he gets it, and all the other angel investors are much sort of happier, and the VCs are happier because he's on board and knows our industry inside out.
Right. Okay. So during this accelerated time, I assume that you were still operating the platform, so you had that day-to-day housekeeping and things, right? So how did you balance this with going through the accelerator?
Well, I said before, right? You do the morning is like all your business ops and meetings with your team, I guess, right? And then in the evening is just your coding, right? So if you're a technical founder and you have like some sort of commercial brain to some point, you will be fundraising, speaking to commercial, your commercial options and revenue options. You're doing your contracts. You're doing everything, right? You're like you're a handyman for the company. You do everything, right? And then in the evening, when there's no distractions, you lock in and you just you're coding away, programming, and then everywhere around you is just code.
Okay. Right. So this particular funding round after the accelerator. So what has been most surprising? It can be good thing or a bad thing.
So the most surprising thing has actually been from all the angel investor checks that we've had to this 100K mark. It's 120 actually, but 100K committed officially, is that we've been able to raise all that with no pitch deck, which that doesn't usually happen. But if what you're saying, you know the product inside out, and you've got the people on board who really understand it, it's a signal that you clearly have a good product, a good team, a good revenue model. You got all the different sheets and different data and all that type of stuff to back what you're saying, and the people will want to look into that. But the first, the initial reaction is, I think for angel investors, it was angel investors first, and then we lead VC in. But your angel investors, they know you, they're personal to you, they invest in you, and then everything else around it is the complementary parts that makes this company or this investment actually worth doing. So that's why we've not been able to do a pitch deck. We've not had to have a pitch deck yet, but now we do, because you enter the formal VC process. They've got like investment committee meetings, which they take all their stuff to, and they're like, what's good about this person, what's good about this founder, what's good about this company, and they need all the decks basically to be able to compare against and see, who should we invest in and everything like that. So that's the process we're doing now.
All right. So, for the benefit of everyone who's attending today, right? What is the one thing that you in terms of fundraising? What's the one thing that you wish that you would know before you start the fundraising round?
Give me a second to process all of this. I need to think about that. No, I think the thing that I'd want to know going into it is, so I know that accelerators are great, right? And you see like YC companies do so well out of it. But I would have wished that we went onto an accelerator way earlier, as opposed to just trying to find funding straight away. So, we spent, good portion of our own like personal money going to different places, flying to different places, to try and find, investment. We must have spent like over $3 or $4 grand of our own personal money that we didn't have, to try and find investment. And everywhere, doesn't matter what type of economy it is, whether it's an economy that invests in gaming or tech or distribution or whatever it is, if you think it's like not doing very well, there is still a pool of people that are mega rich and want to write checks, right? There are, okay? But you need to look closer to home a bit more, I think, and find out, okay, who are those people? Do I really need to get on a flight which is going to cost me $1,000 to get to Singapore and then get into some sort of like accelerator and then not get in, right? And not get funding at the end of it in the IC. So I would have wished that somebody told us. We did actually get told to go to the accelerator. It wasn't an original idea, but he's one of our investors today. He raised off the back of being in an accelerator, and I would have wished that we went to an accelerator earlier, to be honest.
Okay. So, let's say if someone here is considering joining an accelerator, what sort of advice that you can give, or what sort of things that they should think before they apply to an accelerator?
So a couple things. Nowadays, you can't just apply to an accelerator because you're a cool founder, right? You gotta have some traction there. You gotta know your product. You gotta be on it, because you'll be up against over 400 or 500 applications for one accelerator for 3 to 6 months, and the due diligence process is a long one, even though it's only like 30 to 50k check maybe. Some of them are even bigger. You still got to treat it as a proper process, because you don't look at it as 30k 50k check, oh, that's not much. It's 30k check with the ability to be able to then most likely 95% of the time you will raise off the back of that again. So be prepared to go through a bit of hell for the next 6 months with that accelerator and earn next to nothing, and go through those hardships. But that's for a reason. You need to be hungry enough to go, you know what, my life is shit, right? But I'm going to get at the end of this and try any way possible to scrape by, right? Whether that's credit cards or, universal credit or anything like that, right? To get to where you need to go to then successfully raise, so that you got a little bit more cash in your pocket. But even after that, your investors are the ones that set your salary. So you can't even go, I'm going to be a little bit more comfortable. No, it's what you need to get by. That's it. Because you need to be hungry enough to keep going to the point where you exit, so that all the people that invested in you in the beginning, that's with you for the journey, it's like having multiple marriages, right? Not that I would know, but it's having like multiple marriages and making sure that they're with you for the whole journey, and then at the end of it, you can all be happy and maybe do some partying or other investing as well. But I'd say that's one. And the other thing is do your research, because some accelerators really are like really bad. Any accelerator where you got to pay to get on it, don't do it. So that's the first part, or second part even. And the third part to that is once you know the accelerator that you want, again, do even more research around them. What's good about them? What's the support they give you, so that you can actually, you're not wasting 6 months. You know for a fact that if you do all your cards right and you lean in on everything, you'll get your follow-on funding and you'll get to where you need to get to.
Okay. So, Josh, are all startups are good fit for accelerators, or is there any thing that are there things that a startup should consider whether my startup is actually suitable for an accelerator?
So startups fit into two categories. People want to start them because they want to build something meaningful and cool, and at some point the bonus is you exit. Or you start a company or a startup because you want to live a certain lifestyle. If you want to live a certain lifestyle, don't be venture backed, right? Fundraising is not nice. It's a means to an end to meet some great people and, learn a lot in a very short space of time. But it's not pretty and nice and whatever social media and everyone says it is. It's brutal. It's a full-time job and then some to do everything else around it. So that's the two things. If you want a startup, you want to build something because you want to be able to get to, 10K income a month, be a little bit comfortable, then you're not VC backable. If you can't if you can't look at your progression plan and go, we're going to exit for 17 million or below, you're probably not VC backable. If you can do 70 million and above in valuation, you're VC backable. The most important thing that I just learned recently is a VC will look at you, right, in this specific way. If they've got a 100 million pound fund, right, that fund is split into 3 buckets. 40% goes into new investments, 40% goes into follow-on investments, and 20% is just extra cash, right? You need to be able to return the 40% first, right? So you think of a 100 million pound fund, you need to, as a startup, be able to return the size of that 40 million pound fund. If you can't, they're not going to invest, right? So you need to look at yourself and go, okay, if I think I can exit at 50 million, I need to apply for fundraising for funds that have a 40% of that big number, that is 50 million, right? Because out of 100 startups, only 1 will be a unicorn and 10 will be somewhat okay, right? So that's how they think. You got to also think like that as well. You got to do your own vetting process against the funds, against the VCs too, to see if they fit for what you want to do.
Cool. Now, since you have been going through the whole cycle of this accelerator, filling the application, and then now you have confirmed, investment in the early stage of the round. So let's forget about, you didn't apply to Baltic Ventures, you didn't go through that accelerator, right? So if you have to start from the beginning, what would you do differently?
Honestly, I would have. What would I have done? I don't know. I don't think about this. This is like another reflection therapy session, Chamara. I don't know. I think. So when I first started, my journey. I built a small software company, but that software company was for me to be able to learn how to do business, how to build stuff, how to get real world development. Before we got the Baltic Ventures fundraising and we did our F&F round, I spent a lot of time focusing on building that software company, but then also building the product at the same time. Now, when you got 2 things going at once, you can't really be 110% committed. So you're never going to have the point where you're I've got a gun against my head, I need to make this succeed. So you need to come to a point where you're I got to ditch this thing. So whether that's you're in work or you got something else going on, let's say for everyone, most people in the room, you got a normal stable job. if you're thinking about building something meaningful and you want to be all in on that and you want to be VC backed, you got to take the leap. You got to leave whatever you have in comfort wise, because if you don't, you'll never enter the like sink or swim mode, and you really need that. So I think I probably would have said, done that earlier, but there's multiple reasons why I didn't do that. Like I was in university when I was still doing this, right? So you pay for whatever and this and that, and not enough credit scores to get a credit card. Family couldn't lend money or whatever. So you have to make everything happens for a reason, right? But making that switch earlier, and applying to Baltic Ventures or looking for accelerators earlier as well.
Okay, so what sort of advice that you can give the people who's building stuff in Isle of Man, right? What are the unique opportunities or the possibilities and also the challenges that they can face?
I think for anybody building on the Isle of Man, often you've got like blinkers of like, this is what I know, and I'm doing so great here, but actually you just lift your head up a little bit and you look around the corner, you'll soon realize that you are nothing. Like, you're in a small pond, and it's easy to be a big fish in a small pond, right? You look across the UK, you got fintech everywhere, you've got your checks being written everywhere, but for really, really good companies. Whereas on the Isle of Man, you can be like, oh yeah, I'm doing so well. I think I've done this, done that, but actually you haven't done a lot, because you need to be in an environment where you're competing against other people who are at the top of their game. On the island, I can maybe count on one hand how many people I know who are, venture backed, that I know personally. And in the UK, I can, there's loads. So you need to be surrounded by people, first of all, that understand that ecosystem and what you're building, what you're doing. That's the first part. And the second part is, like, leave the Isle of Man. Personally, this is my advice, right? Not not forever, but just go and see what the world is. Go and find communities that are struggling, find problems that are, on the Isle of Man, you got a very specific set of problems, and to be able to solve a problem, like, personally, I think you need to be able to know that industry inside out. You can do it also without. But also, there's a very, very small percentage of people that can do that. So yeah, be familiar with the surroundings that you're in. Understand what you're trying to fix, what you're trying to solve, and just look outside your box, really. But you can always come back here. It's very, very tax friendly. But yeah, that's what I would say personally, anyway.
Yeah, and then I'll grab you for a session once you come back. Right. So looking ahead, what's next for MaestroAI after closing the funding round?
So once the round is closed, you're in a nice stage where you can just focus on building. Like I said, fundraising is, it's not glamorous, it's not nice. It's just something you need to do to be able to build what you want to do faster. With the world of, AI and agents and everything like that, people can do things very, very fast these days. So you'll only have, if you're the first in a blue ocean territory to do something, it's not going to be long until somebody goes, that's pretty smart. Let me make it a little bit better and I can do it faster. So it's all about like effectiveness, testing. We're a B2C company, right? So, B2C, but we monetize B2B and B2C. And you need to, once your fundraising is over and out the way with, you just got to focus. It's absolute hammer time now for the next 18 months or however long your runway is. You got to be completely focused. You got to go back to like, we've done nothing, but I know these few things, and then really accelerate that process, because that's what funding is, right? You could build a business from 0 to 20 million in valuation. You could without fundraising, but it might take you 10 years to do it, right? Whereas if you do get investment and you do raise, that time will be put in half, right? So there's multiple different factors that de-risks that as well, because you've got more chance of being able to go against competitors, you'll be able to pivot faster, build a team that understands, has experience, because as founders, right, you need to have a team that isn't necessarily, if you're if you're not the smartest one in the room, but you know how to get the best value out of those people surrounded by you, from my perspective, that's where you need to be, right? You need to be the one making the decision off the back of highly, highly, highly specialized and technical people to be able to execute on things at a high level, on why the investors have invested you in the first place. And you're at that point, you shouldn't fail, really, but people still do.
Yeah, I mean, even when I was recruiting people for startups, when I was doing the interviews, so the one statement that I am actually telling them is that if you join a startup, so you can learn things in 3 years, but in a corporate it will take 10 years for you.
Yeah, of course.
Right. So those are the questions from my side. Before we open up for the audience, do you have anything else that if you want to tell that we haven't covered?
Yeah, I guess if you're thinking of like building something or doing something, and you keep saying to yourself, "Oh, I'll do that tomorrow. Oh, I'll do that tomorrow," you're never going to do it. You're just not. Yeah, that's the bare truth of it. So if you're thinking of doing something, just go do it now. Otherwise, you just won't ever do it. I always say that. But yeah, thanks for listening.
All right. Cool. Thank you, Josh. Yes. First question.
Did you have any eureka moments during the accelerator from obviously the various before, whether that's venture the program or other branders or mentors, so there any quite the standout moments that you go, oh hi?
Yeah, so it was understanding that there was so much that we didn't know. So we thought going into the accelerator, we know a bunch about our users, and we got into the accelerator because that, like they told us, we got into the accelerator because we knew our numbers so well and we knew so much about our users. But it was after the first therapy session where they really, really dug deep underneath our skin and was like, I don't think you know your users well enough. Went back to the drawing board. Turns out they were right. Exited founders, they will know what's BS and what's not because they've done it themselves. And once you go back to the drawing board and you really, really, truly like take it on board, yes, your ego might take a little bit of a hit, but if you just take it on the chin and go, you know what, there's probably some truth in that, and you go and you do loads of tests and loads of experiments, and you come back to them with, now I know this, and they do a little bit more evaluation with you. You go back again. It's all about iteration, right, Craig? And then off the back of that, and that was like a 2-month process of testing. After that 2-month process, there was a huge eureka moment of like, oh my God, that is our massive growth engine. Now we just need to figure out how to scale it. And it was once we got to the part where we could scale it and go, you know what, let's just try this. And once it scaled and we saw like 1,000 members joining every week, that was when we were like, okay, now it's go time. Like, this is it now. We can really, really accelerate. So that was the eureka moment. So it was split into 3. Oh, right, sorry.
Right, I got the ask question. I'll try notes on that. I'd say, I really like building the Skyscanner to teach classes. I see a lot of these days. It's so good to actually understand roughly what it is in what senses. Because most of the time, I get it. I don't understand that's the point, but actually I don't keep million what is pitched deck. I just put in ChatGPT and it actually tells me if it's any good. It's actually letting me all the way that actually come from. Because the thing is I really get it from that one sentence.
Well, so I looked at all of the YC companies because they do really well, right? You have to be really good to get into YC. And the thing that I kept coming back to is that all the YC companies I understood like this, like straight away. And that's the biggest part, right? If someone can get it within 3 seconds, realistically, they're going to be hooked, right? Because they're interested. Or they go, you know what, not for me. But at least you're not wasting time. And it's all about like the narrative and storytelling, right? And what the YC companies did was just that. So I had a look, okay, what do we actually do? What is our model? If I say we are an aggregator of this, what is a huge company that everybody knows that I can relate that to? So it was Skyscanner, Go Compare, Money Supermarket, all those. and I use all those examples still today, depending who I'm speaking to. If it's like an older generation, I would say go compare Money Supermarket, because most likely they'll be looking at some sort of insurance maybe. But if it's somebody who I think maybe do a lot of traveling, or, Skyscanner is one that we'll be familiar with. So it's all about optics. It's all about what do I think this person will know off a short conversation. And then I go, okay, we are this of that. And they go, oh, because that's a successful company, I understand what you're doing because I know exactly what they do. Hopefully that makes sense. Yeah.
Any push? So you talked about being 21 and was last year you university. What's psychologically been the shift there on being a university student doing this part-time to being full-on?
So I'll switch that around, Dan. It was part-time university and full-time startup. Maybe my dad doesn't want to hear that, but he's... but it was always that. As soon as I knew I wanted to build something cool, I was like, well, university is just a receipt that you pay a lot of money for, but it's just a receipt. Whereas this, I'm super, super young, no mortgage, no kids, no liabilities at all, right? So I thought this is the best time to do it. If I fail, nothing in your 20s really can be seen as a failure, right? So, even if that's getting absolutely hammered, right? It's supposed to be like your cool times or whatever you want to call it, right? So it was just literally 100%. I want to build something cool. University, part-time. Actually, in my final year of university, I had a 17% attendance rate. And I had to be very open with the university, and I had to say, like, look, I'm building something cool. It's going to be cool for you if this succeeds. So please don't kick me out of the university for having bad attendance. To then, they were very, very, they supported it. Even after a year of you having time to write a dissertation, I very, very kindly asked my project supervisor, please, can I have 2 weeks extra to write my dissertation? Of which I wrote it on the plane back from Singapore trying to get fundraising. 15-hour flight, bosh, bosh. And it was all done, and hopefully that makes... I don't know if I answered your question or not, Dan.
Do you think staying at university to finish off was the right choice rather than leaving to do... So I never spoke with her. I don't think you ever mentioned that idea. Would you look like I should have left university then to go through this process earlier? Or was it the right choice?
At the time, there was nothing else about me, so there was no credibility to my name because I'm so young. If I didn't have background in computer science, what was I? It was just 21-year-old trying to build something. Whereas at least if I had my background's computer science, I'm great at coding, and also, did well at university, at least that's something. I think if you're further on in your career, you didn't go to university, and you're able to, become a managing director, or you were some sort of level at, PwC or whatever, there's a credibility to that. Whereas, if you don't have that, it's a bit tough. So I would have just carried on anyway, I think. You do think I want to quit. I hate this, because it's not even closely related to what you're doing. Because computer science is a huge lag, right? You don't even build any machine learning models of any sort. You don't do any data science. You don't do any data cleansing. You don't do any of the stuff you do in real software. You don't study in computer science.
So very often there's a difference between having knowledge of something and beliefs. So across your fundraising journey, what single sources of truth did you develop over that time? Perhaps at belief or going into, and then actually, after that experience of the process, you thought, you know what, this is absolute state of fact, just different for years. I heard it before.
I always thought that investors, or maybe not investors, but VCs specifically, look at a company and go, I'm going to try find as many things wrong with you as possible to not give you funding. Because actually, it's the other way around. They want you to do well. It's only when you say something where they go, oh, now I have to do my job to actually ask, and prod and understand why did you do that? Because they want you to do that. They will try and... They're not there to trip you up, right? They want to make good investments, but they also have to do a job, and that's the due diligence process. Now, I thought if a VC said, your typical response, right? no, but come again later, it really isn't just no, because they all have the thing in common where they have a fear of missing out. So if you say, we've done this, and then you go back to them, and you know that they like certain funds that they co-invest with, and you go, we've had interest from this, this, and that, and we know this specific person, who I know you did a co-lead with, like co-lead investment with, they actually will happily open their arms and go, come back, speak to me again, because they want you to succeed. Whereas I didn't think that was the case before. I used to think that if you walk into a room and they switch off, it's done. The deal's not going to happen. But it was after when I was at Slush, is like a massive investor conference, right? It's the biggest in Europe. Over 10,000 investors go there, 30,000 startups. And when I went there, I went to go meet a fund, like a huge fund, way too big for us at the moment, but Sony Innovation Fund. Very lucky that they took our meeting in the first place. But I got to there and they were like, we only really do like £1 million check sizes, which is a bit too much for you guys. And then I said, and I was like, oh, no, that's all right. But and then they asked, like, who were you speaking with? Like, what investors were you speaking with? Oh, we're speaking with London Venture Partners. And then as soon as I said that, it was like, London Venture Partners. Who are you speaking with? Oh, yeah, this person called Gus Curley. Gus, I just did 3 co-leads with him recently, and we're going to do like 4 more in the pipeline. And then at that point, he was like, we can go below the £1 million check. We can go to 500,000. Does that work for you guys? So. It's they do want you to do well, and as long as you have validated your process from other people, or validated what your idea is from others, and they've put money behind you, or they put belief behind you, it is, they will do anything they can to be involved.
Do you find it differs when you chat to Asian investors or equity founders or people in a fund or equity founders as pure BC people and actually get pretty very benefits, and so do you find the conversation differ?
100%. Exited founders who do angel investment are successful exited founders. Exited founders who work in VCs, they are not successfully exited founders. They sold their business either at a loss or just on par with what they put in or whatever, and then they still want to be involved but don't want to take the risk of being a founder again. But they still want to be close to it. So they become an analyst or a principal or an associate to be able to still be involved in it, but be on the nicer side of just writing checks and just going, nope, yes. And go to the all fancy dinners and go into the bougie clubs and restaurants and all that type of stuff. So yeah, and the angel investors, like, they really, really do care about you, and they're going to be in your corner until however long it is that you will be there in that company for until you exit.
As good as in comment box, it's very important that you choose smart money. Always choose the smartest object available. So we keep it's a big difference. It's acceptable. Otherwise, what is it you border?
Yeah, exactly that. And go back to our F&F round. We probably maybe could have we would have been fine with raising just money from Baltic Ventures, but once that one Baltic Ventures is over, who else is on our corner? So we needed to make sure that we had people, like I said, like super young founder. There's a lot that I don't know, but from exited founders, they've been there, they've done that. They're going to be there for a while if they're in from the beginning. They take a punt on you, and they want you to succeed, and they want you to be successful. So I think that's absolutely 100% agree.
Any more questions? I'll finish with one.
Yeah.
No other.
Okay.
Else. So, how much are you raising this round?
300K.
300K.
Yeah.
How much are you giving out?
Depends on the valuation, so I can't say it.
Oh, all right. Okay. That's fine. So I guess you're gonna have a big cap table.
After this round, maximum. I could say definitely not more than 8 investors into it. It's not big. We're not big.
All right. Okay. That's a good number.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think if there are no more questions, I think we can wind up.
Thank you everyone for coming, and thank you, Josh. telling me before you're coming to the Isle of Man, saying that I'll be on Isle of Man on these days. So, and you're leaving tomorrow, right?
Thursday morning.
Thursday morning. Okay. So, thank you so much for sharing your experience with us. I think it's really valuable. As Launchpad, so we will try to get more people to talk about this stuff, and once in a while we'll try to change the format like this as well. And I have to tell, this is the first time that I'm hosting a fireside chat. So I've been on the other side, but this is the first time that I was asking questions. Good. Of course. It's a good learning for me as well, because I had to do some preparation for this as well. So thank you again, everyone, and see you again. And I think as once Josh mentioned that, if you are building something, you need to be around with this, like-minded, same kind of people. So that's what we are trying to build with Launchpad as well. Have this space where anyone can come and innovate and, share their skills, help someone else. So that's the space that we want to build with Launchpad as well. So feel free to come and talk to me, if you have anything, if you need anything, any support or anything. So we'll try to, reach out to my network, Launchpad network, LIBT network, and see how we can help you all. And thanks again, and have a great evening. Cheers.